Morning. What we got? Just got 4 Alrighty. Let's go. Well, there we go. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So what we are doing today is we're not talking about anything new. We are reviewing what we've done so far in chapter 10. We've been talking about what's called a transformation. Transformation, remember, is just a movement of a geometric figure on the coordinate plane. We've talked about 3 main types of transformations. The first ones that we had were reflections. Remember the fancy word for reflections is a flip. Okay, that's your, official mathematical term. Just kidding. Reflections is the official mathematical term. Okay, but you can think of it as a flip. Another one that we had was a translation. Translations, you think of them as just a slide. They slide the figure over. They don't turn it in any way. They just slide it over. And then the last ones we had were rotations, and those are when you actually turn it. Okay, so reflections flip the figure, translations slide the figure, and rotations turn the figure. Okay, so what we're going to work on today is we're going to do like some examples of each type. Now you should have some notes that I gave you to write down. I told you could write them either on the back of your notes page, because there was like half of a page there, or in a separate sheet of paper that had our rules for the different rotations, reflections, translations. So you should have those written down somewhere. So you will need those today for while we're talking about these, okay? Because what we're going to do is we're going to just practice on some, and then I'm going to give you some that's going to count as your quiz over this. So you need to be ready, okay? So looking at these, most of the time when we did these, they would give us either a triangle or a quadrilateral, and they would tell you, either they would give you the picture and you had to count and find the vertices, or it would give you the vertices. So remember, when we're talking about an ordered pair, your ordered pair always has your x-coordinate and your y-coordinate. Remember, your x-coordinate tells you how it moves to the left or right from the origin, and your y-coordinate tells you how it moves up or down from the origin. Okay, now something else we also had with this is you gotta remember your basics of your coordinate plane. You have the x-axis, you have the y-axis, and then this point here in the middle where you always start is the origin. Now, on your x-axis, as you go to the right is positive and go to the left is negative. On your y-axis, as you go up is positive, and as you go down is negative. Now, something else we talked about on our coordinate plane is that each one of the quadrants is how many degrees? Does everyone remember that? Each quadrant was how much?
Let me look.
Just look at it. Your x and y axes are always perpendicular to each other, so each quadrant is
90
degrees because they're right angles. Okay, you got quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, go all the way around is 360 degrees. So those are things that we kind of talked about with this. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some coordinates of a triangle, and we're going to find some different reflections, translations, and rotations with that. And then that you're going to do the same thing on your own. That's going to count as your quiz. Okay? So our points that we're going to have is we are going to have triangle ABC with vertices A, which is at -3, 1. B, sorry, is at 0, 2. And then C is at 2, 4. Okay. So I have my triangle ABC, and these are its vertices. A is at -3, 1. B is at 0, 2. And C is at 2, 4. I don't want 2, 4. Let's make it a -1. That makes it more fun. Throw in a negative for you. Okay. So here, there you go. Can't see. So this is what we got. Okay. So on here, we have our 3 vertices, our A, our B, and our C. Now, if you want, you can graph them on the coordinate plane. I'll put them on here. I got A is at -3, 1. Then I got 0, 2. And I got 2, -1. So your triangle looks something like that there, okay? Now, we're gonna do some different things with this triangle, okay? So you have your rules, hopefully they're on your notes from the other day, okay? And we're gonna use those to do some things. So first of all, let's say we reflect triangle ABC over the y-axis. Okay, so you have to look at your notes for our rules and talk about reflecting over the y-axis. When we reflect it over the y-axis, that means if we're over here on the left, it's going to the right. So the y coordinate's not going to change because it's not moving up or down, it's going left to right. So your y coordinate doesn't change. Which coordinate tells us left and right? Which coordinate tells us left and right?
The X.
The X coordinate tells you left and right. So your X coordinates is what's going to change. Your Y coordinate's going to stay the same. The X coordinate is what changes. So when we're doing reflecting over the Y axis, to find your new points, you change the sign on the x-coordinate. It's got to be the opposite. So if it's over here on the left, a negative, it's going to become a positive and go to the right because you were reflecting it, flipping it over that y-axis. So on here, my new a, remember, and they call that a prime, they put the little mark there. The x becomes positive 3, y stays 1. For b prime, x was 0. Can you change the sign on 0? No, 0 is just 0. So it's still 0 and 2. And then for c, it was a positive 2, so I'm flipping it over to the other side. It's going to become negative 2, negative 1. So all we're doing is we're finding our new coordinates based on the rules that I had you write down last week. Okay, so if I reflect triangle ABC on the y-axis, these are my new coordinates because my rule says for y-axis, your x changes, the y stays the same. That was our rule that we had on our notes last week. Okay, I'm just putting that underneath it so you remember. Now, what if I want to do the translation with vector negative 2, 3? Now, remember for the translations, your vectors, this first number tells you how the x value changes, and your second number tells you how the y value changes. So basically what this is telling me is for my x and y, my x's I'm going to subtract 2 because it was a negative 2, and my y's I'm going to add 3 because it was a positive 3. So for my translation with this vector, I'm going to subtract 2 from each x value, and I'm going to add 3 to each y value to get my coordinates of my new figure, my image. Remember the one before? Your original is called your pre-image. This is finding the coordinates of the image after the transformation. Okay, so I've got to find my a prime, my b prime, and my c prime again. Okay, so remember, for my x values, I'm subtracting 2 because my translation vector was negative 2, 3. So on my x, I had a negative 3 here. What's negative 3 minus 2?
Positive 5.
No, not positive.
Negative.
Negative 5. And then I have 1 plus 3, which will be 4. So it's sliding it down into, it's sliding it to the left and then up. Okay, it's going to the left and it's going up. So for my b, it was 0. So 0 minus 2 is negative 2. And then 2 plus 3 is 5. All I'm wanting to make sure you can do at this point is use those rules to find the new coordinates. Okay, that's what we're practicing right now. That's what's on that quiz. Okay. Oh, my stomach's growing. Part C. My original C was 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. And then negative 1 plus 3. Now you have to be careful on this one because when you add a negative and a positive, what happens?
Negative, positive.
You actually do what?
You divide them? No.
When you're adding a negative and a positive, you subtract and take the sign of the one farther from 0. So 3 minus 1 is 2. 3 is farther from 0, so it's a positive 2. Okay? Now, does everybody understand what I'm saying? We are practicing our different rules that we had last week. We've got our original triangle. All we are doing is practicing using those rules to find our coordinates for our new image after the transformation. Okay? Trying to find our coordinates for our new image after the transformation. Okay, everybody got that? So, everybody understand what I'm doing? Pedro, you need to get on there and get with us so you know where we're at. All right. Now, we did a reflection, we did a translation. Let's do a rotation. Rotate, rotation. Let's do 180 degrees. Okay. So again, you have rules that I had you write down last week for rotation. When you are rotating 180 degrees, that's going the exact opposite of where you were to start with. Okay, if I'm going this way and I turn 180 degrees, that means I turn around and go the exact opposite way. So that means if things are positive, they're going to become negative. If things are negative, they're going to become positive. So when you do a rotation of 180 degrees, basically you just change your signs. Your X and Y that you had originally become the opposite signs. They're going the opposite way. Okay, and again, these were in your book, plus we had these rules that I gave you and you were supposed to have written down. Okay, so we take each coordinate and we just put the opposite signs. Okay, if you don't remember these rules or you didn't write them down the other day, they were on page 475. Okay, well, after we do this rotation, we've got our point A, point B, and point C. So my A prime, I just changed the signs on each one. So if I had -3, +1, it's going to become +3, -1. That's rotating that triangle 180 degrees. If I had 0, 2, that's going to still be 0 because 0 is not positive or negative, it's just 0. And then the +2 will become a -2. And then for point C, I had 2, -1, so it will become -2, +1. It's rotating it 180 degrees. So if I actually drew it on this coordinate plane, instead of being up here at the top, it would be flipped around down here at the bottom. Okay, it's rotating it, turning it around 180 degrees. So that's one of the others that we had, one of the rules that you had last week. Okay. Now we had several different ones. We had 3 types of reflections. We had reflection over the y-axis that we did up here. We had reflection over the x-axis, and we had reflection over the line y = x. We had translations are straightforward. They just give you the vector. Okay, you just need to know if it's positive, it goes to the right. If it's negative, it goes to the left. If it's positive, it goes up. If it's negative, it goes down. That's all you need to know for that one. For the rotation, we technically had like 6 types of rotations. You had your main ones, which were going counterclockwise, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270. And then you had your clockwise, which was like -90 degrees, -180 degrees, and -270. And that was one of the questions that we did on the problem the other day, but I'd also already had it up there on your notes on where I wrote the rules for you, so you should be able to figure those out. Okay, so let's do another rotation. Rotation of, let's say, -270 degrees. Okay, so if you look at your notes, negative, I'm going to move so the glare's not on it. -270 degrees is the same as what?
90.
180.
No, same as 90. I heard it. Same as 90. Okay. It's the same as 90 because negative 270 would mean I go 3 around this way, which would be the same as just going 1 this direction. So it's same as 90 degrees, which we have our rule for 90 degrees. If you look there on page 475, when you're doing those, do you change signs, change order, or both?
Both.
You do both because you switch the order and then you change the signs on one of them. So think about what I talked about with 90 degrees. Here's 90 degrees. Let's say this is where we're at. I'm put a little star right here. We're happy we're in this first quadrant. Okay, everything is positive here in this first quadrant. Makes me happy. Okay. If I'm going 90 degrees, that's taking me over to this one. In this quadrant, the the first number is a negative, but the second number is positive. Okay? When we're doing that rotation, we do 2 things. We switch the order of the X and Y, and then the first one has to have the opposite sign. So, because over here, the first one's negative and then positive. So you switch the order and then you change the sign on the first one. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the rotation for negative 270 degrees, which is the same as just 90 degrees counterclockwise, and find our new coordinates for point A, point B, and point C prime of our new image. Okay, so we're finding our points for A, B, and C of our new image. So let's switch it that way, and that way the glare's on the other side. Okay, so it says I'm switching my points and I'm changing the sign on the one that ends up in the front. So here's my original A up here at the top was negative 3, 1. So I switched the order. So I have 1, negative 3. And then I have to change the sign on the one on the front so it will become negative 1, negative 3. Okay. Then for part B, I had 0, 2, so I switched the order. So it will be 2, 0, and then I changed the sign on the one that ends in the front. It will be negative 2, 0. Then for part C, I had 2, negative 1. So I flipped the order. I'd have negative 1 and 2. And then I changed the sign on the one that ends up in the front. So instead of a negative 1, it's going to make it a positive 1. Okay, so it's just knowing how to use the rules to write your new coordinates. Okay, so starting to look a little familiar from last week. Did I see head shaking? Yes? Yeah? We're getting this? We remember this a little bit? If you've got those rules written down, you should be able to do these. Okay? I should be able to see you, Pedro. All right, so another rule that we have is let's do another reflection. Test you on that. Okay, so we're going to reflect triangle ABC over the line y equals x. So if you were reflecting over y equals x, you need to look back at your notes and see what you did for that. Okay, so reflections for section 10.1. So that was some of the first notes I had you write down for this. Okay, remember reflecting over the y-axis before, we said the x changed because you were just going from the left to the right. If you reflect over the x-axis, your y is going to change because you're changing from up to down or down to up. When you're reflecting over this, the line y equals x, remember that's a diagonal line. And so your rule for that is you're going to do what with your points?
You're gonna flip them, like rotate them,
I'm sorry, what?
like flip them.
Okay. You're going to just change the order. Okay, what was X becomes Y, what was Y becomes X, right? So you have XY is going to become YX. You're reflecting over that line, so they trade places. So for A prime, my original was -3, 1, so it will become 1, -3.
3.
For B prime, it was 0, 2, so it will be 2, 0. For C prime, it was 2, -1, so it will be -1, 2. Okay, so that was another reflection. Okay, you remember these? Sound familiar? Let's do one more translation because we haven't done another one of those. So let's do one more translation. Let's say our vector is 0, -4. So does it go left or right any if it's got a 0 here for the x of the translation vector? No, it's just sliding which direction? Since it's negative, it's going down 4 units. So for every xy, the x stays the same, and the y's, I'm subtracting 4 from them. That's what that rule means. Okay, that's what that translation vector means. So for A prime, the x stays the same, and the y, I subtract 4. So 1 minus 4 is -3. For B prime, the x stays the same, and for y, I subtract 4. 2 minus 4 is -2. For C prime, the x stays the same, and for the y, I subtract -4. So -1 minus 4 is -5. So we've talked about our 3 different things. Reflections, remember, are a flip. Translations are a slide. Rotations are a turn. Now, with these, like I said, this is similar to what you're getting ready to do for your quiz, okay? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you coordinates of a triangle, and I'm going to ask you to do certain things with it. Different reflections, different rotations, or translations. And all you're having to do is find me your new coordinates, okay? That's it. Okay, so hopefully this should be an easy quiz. All right, now I still have a lot of you that still have stuff from chapter 8 that you haven't finished or turned in, or chapter 9 that you haven't finished and turned in. Okay, and I'm trying to go through all that so I can send reminder messages to you about specifically what people still owe me. Okay, I tried to have tutoring for y'all yesterday. Yeah. So, hey, Drogue, come back. Class isn't over yet. Quit hiding yourself. All right. So, what we're going to do is we're going to work on the quiz. I'm going to tell you what the quiz is. Okay? You're going to do the quiz. Okay? Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to send everybody a reminder tomorrow of what I still need from them. And then we'll try to stay after class tomorrow for anyone who still needs more tutoring, more help on chapter 8 and chapter 9. Okay? But I want to go through and tell you specifically what I still need from you, because some of you, because you'll show up and you'll be like, oh, I don't know where that's at. So then it doesn't do you any good for me to have you stay extra time or whatever and me try to work with you if you don't even have what you're supposed to be doing in front of you. So this way I'll message everybody what they individually need, so you make sure you have it where you can see it, whether it was quiz 2 over the chapter 9 or the chapter 8 test, whatever it was, so that way you have it with you. So you have specific questions we can go over to help everybody so their grade goes better. Okay, I will also be sometime today or tomorrow sending you all an extra credit. The extra credit is going to be problems out of your book that you're just going to figure out you'll either take a picture of the pages and send them back to me through attached to an email, or you can just type your answers in the body of an email and send it to me at cfpelhamharvestacademy.net. However, but I'll have to have it between now and the end of next week. Okay, so I'm going to try to give it to you today or tomorrow, so then that way you have like a good week and a half to work on them. But that'll be extra credit, and I'll add those points to your lowest test grade. Okay, so those points be added to your lowest test grade. So what I'm getting ready to do now is I'm getting ready to write your quiz problems up here. So what do you need to have something ready to write down? Okay, everybody ready? Okay, I'm going to give you your quiz. This is your quiz 1 over sections 10.1 through 10.3. So quiz 1 over chapter 10, sections 1 through 3. Okay. You have triangle DEF with D 2 E at 0. So those are your points, okay? Yeah, I've got just a few more minutes. All right, let me see. All right, everybody seeing what I'm doing? It's like what we did on the review. You're doing these same coordinates. I'm just giving you, you're gonna have 5, okay? You're gonna have 5. I've already written 3, so I've got 2 more I'm putting up here, so. Well, okay. Close there, everybody can see them good. So this is what we have. You have your coordinates. You're going to translate, you're going to rotate, reflect, reflect, rotate. 5 problems. Okay. All you are doing on each problem is you're giving me the new coordinates. So you're going to tell me D prime, E prime, and F prime for each one, like I just did on the examples I did over here. Okay. You think we can handle that? So you have 5 problems. Each problem has 3 answers. Your D prime, your E prime, your F prime. Okay? Can everybody see that? Is there any of them I need to read to you that you can't see? Everybody got it? Everybody remember what we're going to try to do tomorrow? Try to stay on late tomorrow after I tell you what you're missing so we can get some stuff done. Pedro, were you shaking your head no? Huh? Are you shaking your head no? You're not me. All right.
I'm not saying nothing, miss.
Uh-huh. All right, so everybody got this? We're good? You know what you got to do? Okay, so all you have to do is I would go to an email, and you remember my email. You can go into My School Works and just start typing my name and click on my name, and it'll pop up. Or you can do cfpelham@harvestacademy.net. Either way, it'll get to me. Okay, so you can do it through My School Works, or you can do it just typing in my email. Okay, but in the body of your email, what you should have is you should have number 1, D prime, E prime, F prime. Number 2, D. Okay, so that's all you're going to do. You're just going to type your answers straight in and then send it to me. Okay, everybody can handle that? Okay, make sure you have those down if you've got those down, and don't forget to check My School Works later today or first thing in the morning about what you're missing so you know what to bring with you when we try to do a little extra tutoring tomorrow after class. Okay? Yes, Javier, I see you like cheesing really close to the camera, and that's kind of freaky. So it's like it was just his teeth, like right there. All right. So please make sure you have this down. If you've got this down, you know what you're doing. You can go ahead and log off, and I'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you get it done and send it to me. Okay? This shouldn't take that long. Get them turned in. As soon as I got those, you're good.
Adios, miss. Bye.
Bye.